a very old bit of maple with some end checks, both ends. I think it needs to be coloured and textured, and that's what's coming next. Hello and welcome to another video. Hopefully they're coming a little more frequently than they were at the beginning of the year. Yes, they must be, because there weren't any for the first 3 months of the year. Yeah, a bit of a maple. Had it sitting outside for nearly 5 years now, and it's got a bit checked at the ends. Looks like it might go some depth, but anyway, I'm going to cut this in half and do a couple of small vases and then do some colouring on them. First thing, let's get to the bandsaw. Ear defenders and safety glasses. Right, so here are my 2 bits of wood ready to play around with, and I could have cleaned the ends off, but I want to give myself as much wood as possible. I don't know how far those cracks are going. I'll probably use that as the top end. So let's get one of them on the lathe. If you are watching one of my recent videos, you would have seen my monster scraper. There's a closer look at it for you. Look how shiny it is. Isn't that marvellous? Very heavy too. Okay, lock the tailstock on. And now just wind that end in. Give me a chance to get it biting. Check it's biting at the other end, which it is. When you're turning wet wood, it's always worth, even though this has been drying for 5 years, just to tighten up your tailstock every so often. So we're almost octagonal in shape now. I think there's this bit here, you can see that split, that might come flying off, so I'm going to address that first by standing over to the side here and cutting along so I'm not in the line of it. And I think I can have a little bit more speed now. Right, so you can see one of the splits from this end comes all the way down to here. So being picked up here as well. Now around the other side, the splits from that end seem to have been turned. There was one there running in there. What is a concern is that if you look at the end, so that split there is this crack, but there is another crack there. Excuse me, back to sneeze. And that could run quite some way into this. I think the thing to do is to get rid of this bit first, and that means taking off about another 5mm. Yeah, finally it's gone, and what we've got now to investigate is how far in this little crack goes. I think it's almost gone, but it is really taking away quite a lot of the depth that I can actually work to. And the front of the jaws is engaging with this flat here, so that's the ideal position. And this will allow me to explore this end a little more. You know, ideally you don't want to do this with bits of wood with splits in it, but this is what I have, and this is what I'm going to try to use and get something from it. Sped up footage just to get you through this shaping. I put a tenon on this end once I'd established that it was sound and the crack wasn't going to be too much of a problem. Bit of quick shaping with the bowl gouge, no, with the roughing gouge. We'll get onto a bowl gouge a little later on, and that's really been a nice tool to use to put the broad sweeping curves in. And there you can see me alternating between actually using a 1/2 inch spindle gouge and a roughing gouge. So I want the shape to be a curve from top to bottom, and so although there are a few sort of lines there, you can see the general shape is beginning to emerge, and those little facets can always be blended together. And in fact I'm blending them together with the lower wing of a bowl gouge, as you can see there. So nice round shape. And you'll notice I put a bit of an undercut on. I like to have a slanting rim. Right, so sanding is done. It really is a very pretty wood. I really like it. Right, and of course colouring it now is not going to ruin it, because if I did want to keep it I'd have to turn more off anyway. Right, let's prepare for colour. So we're back to spray paints on this one, and vapour respirator going on. So I've got the lathe spinning reasonably slowly because I don't want my paint to be flying across the workshop, especially not as it's coming right up to a monitor, right in line here. If Emma Cook's watching, I'm sorry for this profligate use of kitchen roll. At least it's not safety cloth. Roll it round to a fresh bit quite frequently. Slightly finer lines at the bottom, just for a bit of variation. Pick those up in some of the other areas. It's a shame round here I've rather blurred it, and I don't think there's any way of repairing that. But it's all a learning process. And of course, when you work with paint in your workshop, you've got to wait ages for it to dry. While I've got it on the lathe, then let's zoom in. So there are some bits that really haven't worked very well. Here I've been very ill-disciplined with my pulling of the paint, and I've got a nice sludgy brown. But in parts here I've been much better disciplined, and it's all to do with keeping a clean bit of paper lifting rather than twisting and moving the colours together. Yeah, so this is quite a poor area around here, but coming into this area, that I think is looking quite effective. So this one will be resumed at a later date. I apologise for the loss of video footage at this point in the video, but I was saying something to camera about how this wasn't going to be a project that was going to be finished and how you've got used to that, and this is the reason why. Because the piece of wood will be used for me to have another bit of an experiment on, partly because of the split that was running through it and also a large dead knot that's left a bit of a dent there that you can see. But here it is in its glory, turned, not completely hollowed. I'll do a hollowing video another day, but just giving you some idea of what it might look like. Ignore the chuck, ignore the painted chuck. Got far too carried away with myself there. But I think this is a really nice technique to get an interesting paint patterning going on, and there's room for a whole lot more experimentation with it. As you know, I'm not that keen on saying here is a complete project, this is how you do it, step 1, step 2, step 43. It's playing, it's having fun, it's splashing some paint around and trying to get something that maybe will appeal to someone to buy one day when I ever get anything finished. Until next time, thanks for watching. So here is the platter from last week's video. The bottom half hasn't been sanded, it's had some lacquer put on it, but the top half I did do some sanding of, and you can see how it's brought out some of the yellow. Quite different kind of effect between the two, and the lacquering put a lovely shine on it. I haven't buffed it yet, but unless I've lost the footage, I'll put a short video up of that process about how that was done, the lacquering, and I'll probably do some buffing or cutting back on it and polishing of it as well at a later time. So keep watching. Press the bell if you're a subscriber so that you get a notification of every new video that's posted. And if it works really well on the front, I might do something about the back, but I think we all know this will get turned off as well. Heartless, mean, nasty man that I am. At least I only take it out on wood.